Good morning, scholars. It's Miss Rossi here, coming at you live from Ohio, where we're going to do another round of reading on Guided Reading YouTube with Miss Rossi. You guys have been doing such a good job so far. We've already done like 10 or 11 videos together, so really nice job if you've watched every single video with me. I'm proud of you, and I appreciate your participation. Now, today we're going to get started with some pictures to get our brains all warmed up and ready to go. We have some shout outs this morning for scholars who are doing awesome work at school and at home. So in the first picture, we have Caden, Tracy, and Charles. Shout out to those friends. In the background of this picture, we have Abigail and Justin, who are working really hard on their independent work. And Caden, Tracy, and Charles came to my kidney table on this day, hands folded, eyes tracking, ready to learn. So really nice job. If you're sitting right now at a table or a desk or your couch, and your back is straight and your hands are folded and you're tracking your screen where Miss Rossi is, I am so proud of you. That means you're ready. Your body is ready to learn. Your brain is getting ready. Excellent job. Next picture from DePaul, we have Miss Abigail, who on this day did such a good job annotating her text with her Post-it notes that Miss Turney had to take a picture of all of her hard work. Awesome, awesome job. If you are at home and you're reading a book, maybe it's a chapter book if you're a DNA 7 or DNA 8, and you're marking up your text, oh my gosh, that is second grade work. Excellent job. When you go to second grade in a couple of months, you will have to mark up your text and annotate your texts, just like we practice in school when we underline important words. So really nice job to all of those friends who were working hard at school. And I want to remind you that even though we're learning at home, you're still working just as hard as these friends. Show me connection if you're with me. All right, excellent job. Let's get started with our strategies for this Wednesday. The first strategy is something that we already know, but we're going to keep practicing making inferences. We're going to practice making. And remember, an inference is a guess. An inference is a. So we're going to be making guesses about the text. We're not just going to guess anything. We're going to use two things to help us make inferences. What two things do we need to make an inference? Say those two things that we need to make an inference out loud now. Good job. I'm going to give you a hint. First, we need text evidence, we need schema, we need, and remember, schema is what you know. Schema is. So we need text evidence and schema, and we're going to use our sentence stem to make inferences or guesses about the text using our text evidence and our schema. So our sentence stem says, if you know it, say it with me. Our sentence stem is, in the story, I read blank, so that makes me think blank. Do it with me one more time, friends. Here we go. In the story, I read blank, so that makes me think blank. Excellent job. We're using our text evidence and our schema to make an inference. Let's go ahead to our next strategy, which is a strategy that I know that we are all really good at. We're going to talk about character feelings. We're going to talk about. Now remember, in our stories, when we have characters and settings and problems and resolutions, our characters might feel different things. They might feel tired and then excited and then nervous and then thrilled, because our characters might have different feelings inside. So in our book today, our character has lots of different feelings, and so we're going to read about the way that the character feels about things that happen in our story. And just like when we make an inference, sometimes we have to guess those character feelings by looking at our pictures and our words. We don't guess, we don't make something up. We look at our pictures and our words so that we can make an inference about the text. Just like we make inferences, we have our sentence stem that is exactly the same. If you know it, say it with me. It says, in the story, I read blank, so that makes me think blank. Excellent job if you are right there with me. I'm going to read through some of the character feelings that you can see on your anchor chart on your screen. Now, just like we've talked about before, you might remember those feelings anchor charts that we have in our classroom. Lots of different feelings with faces next to them. I'm going to read some of these feelings because characters can feel lots of different things. All right, so you can feel shocked, hopeful, jealous, surprised, excited, safe, anxious, embarrassed, thrilled, worried, disappointed, discouraged, uneasy, desperate, confused, happy, regretful, exhausted, content, sad, annoyed, nervous. You might be thinking of other character feelings like brave or proud or thoughtful, feelings that we've talked about in class. You can use any adjective that you know that can describe a character feeling as long as you're using your text evidence and your schema. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our book today. I'm very excited about this book because the character in this book is pretty cool and she gets to do some really cool things. So today our book is called The Stonecutter. It's called, now a stonecutter is someone who has these tools. Look at the picture to help you. I'm going to help you build some schema. I'm going to help you build some knowledge right now. This stonecutter has some tools and they cut stone and they sell stone for money. So this stonecutter is cutting stone and they're going to go sell stone so they can make money. Let's go ahead and get started in our first pages. Now, before you read these pages, there's a couple of things I want to help you also with your schema. So this story takes place in Japan. It takes place in Japan. So remember, this is a different country than the United States of America where we live. So their culture or their way of living might look a little bit different than yours. The things that they wear might look different. The things that they say might look different. But just like we talked about with our Cinderella stories from around the world, we are respectful to other cultures because it's something that we're learning about, okay? So this takes place in Japan. And in Japan, there are a lot of merchants. There are a lot of, say, merchants. A merchant is someone who buys things and sells things to make money. So it might be someone who buys and sells rugs or food or different goods. And so a merchant is someone who buys things and sells things. So it's important to understand what a merchant is for this story, okay? All right, so now that we know what a stonecutter is, we know that this story takes place in Japan, and we know that a merchant is someone who buys and sells things. Now, I want you to pause the video and read through pages 3 and 4 now. Nice job. Let's go ahead to the next 2 pages. Before you read these 2 pages, I want to build your schema one more time. Say emperor. Say emperor. Yep, it's like emperor. Say emperor. Now, an emperor in Japan is kind of like the president. He is in charge. He is the head of Japan, okay? So you're going to read about a little bit about the emperor on these pages. I want you to know that he is a very important person. He's kind of like the president of Japan. So go ahead and pause your video and read through these 2 pages now. Awesome job. Let's go ahead to the next pages. Go ahead and read pages 7 and 8 now. Nice job. Pause your video and read through these 2 pages now. Excellent reading. I'm going to pause here for a second. Raise your hand if you've been reading through difficult words. Good job. Raise your hand if you've been thinking about the way that the character feels. All right, good job. I want you to go ahead and read through pages 11 and 12 now. Pause your video. All right, nice job. I want you to pause your video and read through pages 13 and 14 now. Nice job. Last 2 pages. I want you to read page 15 and I want you to read the glossary on page 16 because it has some definitions that we've talked about today. So go ahead and pause your video and read through pages 15 and 16 now. All right, friends, excellent, excellent job. Now we are going to go ahead and answer some questions about the stonecutter. Okay, my first question is, how does the stonecutter feel about his work in the beginning of the story? Listen to my question one more time. How does the stonecutter feel about his work in the beginning of the story? Pause your video and answer the question out loud now. In the story, I see that the stonecutter is smiling as he's working, and it says in the text that he was proud of his work and he was happy. So that makes me think that the stonecutter is proud and happy of his work. Really nice job. Next question is, how did the stonecutter feel when he realized he didn't have any beautiful things? How did the stonecutter feel when he realized he didn't have any beautiful things? Pause your video and answer the question now. In the story I read, that the stonecutter did not have any beautiful things like the merchant had. So that makes me think, if I don't have anything beautiful, how might I feel? Ooh, that makes me think that he feels sad or unhappy, or maybe you were really juicy with it and said jealous. Yes, he feels sad, unhappy, frustrated, disappointed, or jealous. Let's go to the next page. Really nice job. Next question. How did the stonecutter feel when he realized he didn't have beautiful clothes like the emperor? Pause your video and answer that question now. In the story I read, that the stonecutter did not have such beautiful clothes like the emperor, so that makes me think that he was sad or jealous or upset that he had regular clothes and the emperor had beautiful clothes. I wonder what's going to happen. Let's go ahead to the next page. Why was the stonecutter sad when he saw the sun shining brightly? Why was the stonecutter sad when he saw the sun shining brightly? So we know that he was sad. I'm asking, why is he sad? Pause your video and answer the question now. In the story I read, that the stonecutter was sad when he saw the sun shining brightly. So that makes me think that the stonecutter saw that the sun was stronger than he was. In the story, it says that the sun was stronger than the stonecutter who became the emperor. So that makes me think that he was sad because he wanted to be stronger. Nice job using your text evidence on that question. Really nice job. Why did the stonecutter grow angry? Why did the stonecutter grow angry? Pause your video and answer the question out loud now. In the story I read, that the stonecutter grew angry because the wind blew a cloud over the sun. So the wind blew over the sun and he grew angry. So that makes me think, let's see, he was mad that the clouds were covering him up. So that makes me think that he wants to be powerful, or he wants to be stronger than the wind and the sun and everything. He wants to be the strongest and the most powerful of all. So I'm going to answer that question one more time. In the story I read, that the wind blew a cloud over the sun and he got angry. That makes me think that the stonecutter wants to be more powerful than the wind. All right, let's see what happens if he wants to be more powerful than the wind. Very good. What does the stonecutter become after he becomes the sun? What does he become after he becomes the sun? He becomes the wind. Very good. Why was he still angry when he was the wind? Why was he still angry when he was the wind? Pause your video and answer that question now. In the story I read, that the stonecutter became the wind, but he was still angry. So that makes me think that he still wasn't strong or powerful like he wanted to be. In the story, I see that it says he could not blow the mountain around. So he was angry because he couldn't blow the mountain around. He wasn't strong enough or powerful enough to blow the mountain around. Good inferential question. Why do you think the stonecutter wants to be a mountain? Why do you think he wants to be the mountain? Pause your video and answer the question out loud now. I think the stonecutter wants to be a mountain because a mountain is big and strong and powerful. Let's see if we're right. What did the mountain feel cutting into his side? What did the mountain feel cutting into his side? Pause your video and answer the question now. He felt a stonecutter. Yes. Was it him or a different stonecutter? Yeah, it was a different stonecutter that he felt in the side of the mountain. Because remember, stonecutters use their tools on mountains to get stone out of mountains. So he felt a stonecutter in his side. What is the last thing the stonecutter wants to be? What is the last thing he wants to be? Go ahead and answer your question out loud now. He wants to go back to being a stone cutter. He wants to go back to being a normal stone cutter. He was the wind. He was an emperor. He was the clouds. He was the sun. He was the mountain. And now he just wants to be a regular old stone cutter. How did the stone cutter feel at the end of the story? Pause your video and answer that question now. In the story, I read that the stone cutter became a stone cutter again and that he felt happy. So that makes me think that he is happy with his job and he wants to be a stone cutter. My last question is this. Why or how did the stone cutter change in this story? How did the stone cutter change in this story? Pause your video and answer that question now. All right, so now we're thinking about how our character, our main character, the stone cutter, changes in the story. So in the beginning of the story, I know that the stone cutter wanted to be a stone cutter. But then the stone cutter gets jealous and he wants to be different things like an emperor, the wind, the sun, the mountains. So he changes because the stone cutter wants to be different things. But what happens at the end of the story that is the same as the beginning of the story? Listen to my question really carefully, friends. What happens at the end of the story that is the same as the beginning of the story? Pause your video and answer the question now. All right, you should have said that in the beginning of the story, the stone cutter is a stone cutter, and at the end of the story, he is a stone cutter. So we know that the stone cutter was a stone cutter in the beginning and the end, and those two things are the same. Really, really nice job. All right, next I want you to pause your video, and this is my challenge question. This is my second grade question. I want you to answer this question. If you could turn into anything in the world, what would you turn into and why? Pause your video and answer the question now. All right, now I'm going to use my imagination here a little bit. If I could turn into anything in the world, I would turn into a bird because I could fly anywhere I wanted around the whole wide world. And it would be so fun if I could soar. Ooh, that's a first grade definition that we know, soar. Or I would turn into, I think I might like to be the sun because I could make things warm, or I could make things cold, and I would get to be in the sky and see the whole world at once. So I hope you used your imagination there and tried your best to think about if you could be anything in the world, what would you be? Nice job, my friends, playing along with me. All right, now our last page. I found this awesome picture of this scholar. It's a pretend scholar, it's a cartoon scholar, with a graduation hat on and lots of books behind him and books in front of him. And I put this picture in, friends, just to remind you that every time you read a book, every time you try your best to grow your brain, you are getting closer and closer and closer to high school and college and a career of your choice. So just like this scholar, I love that this scholar has so many books around them. They are definitely growing their brains. They are definitely getting smarter. This is what I want you to do too, okay? Now, if you're reading and you're like, oh, I'm bored. Oh, I don't like this. Call Miss Rossi or call your teachers and we'd be happy to read with you, okay? So you're doing a great job. I want to keep encouraging you. Keep doing a good job. Remember, your teachers are doing virtual lunch bunch. We are going to do a Zoom party for first grade next week, so be on the lookout for that. And we want you all to join us. So please make sure you're watching 4 YouTube videos today. Please make sure you're doing 30 minutes of Lexia, 30 minutes of Zern, and reading on your own for 1 hour. You can do it. I know you can. I believe in you. All right, friends, I'm very proud of you. Thanks for participating. See you tomorrow.